Will it really make a huge difference if you work a couple years in London and New York and come back to Australia? The logistics of it, both financially and psychologically, is making me doubt that this is the best decision for my design career. As someone who is realistic about my skill level as an average person rather than a prodigy, will going overseas realize or shatter all my dreams?
Gosh, I love this question.
It's a really good question.
I just want to acknowledge that it is very hard to move country. It is a logistical challenge. It is a financial challenge. I've sort of moved. I lived in Bermuda for 6 years in my 20s. So I moved country there, came back to London, and then have moved to Australia. Moving animals, if you've got animals in the mix, way harder than moving people. Yeah, moving 2 cats over to Australia was possibly one of the hardest things I've done. So it is logistically tough. However, I think the question really is around why you want to do this in the first place. And if it's just purely around, your career and the industry, maybe that is a question. Could you still fulfill your career here? I'm sure you could, but I think the broader question is around what travel and living in another country and exposed to other things means. And if for that person that's the most valuable part of it is the life experience, then 100%, focus in on that, manifest it to make that part of your life, because you'll look back on those years or however long you're there with such a good memory. They'll shape you. They'll shape your, they'll be part of your inspiration for life through your career as well. So, I mean, whenever anyone asks me about travel, I've obviously lived in London a lot, and so I loved London, and then I went through a period of not loving London. But anyone that's moving back to London or to London, I'm always like, yeah, it's amazing, go for it, because I want to experience London how I did when I first moved there in my 20s, and it was all bright lights and big city, and it's fun. So 100% do it if the reason is life experience, I'd say.
And does it make a difference? So let's say people are applying for jobs and you're looking through resumes. Does it make a difference, the international experience?
When I moved to Australia from the UK, everybody was like, but Australia is like 6 or 7 years behind the UK in advertising. It just isn't true. And I think especially nowadays, it's way more connected. Lots of people have worked all over the world. Yeah, it might be a little bit smaller industry, but I don't think it'd be damaging to your career to not have traveled and worked in New York or London or anywhere else. But I always do. I guess in the back of my mind, I do see somebody that has traveled as having a richer life experience and more inputs into their creativity, which is always interesting.
Yeah, I think I also look at this sometimes as, do you know what? Everyone else has done it. Like, how hard? Like, I'm not stupid. I'm not not very good at stuff or life management, whatever it is. And all these other people have done it. Like, why couldn't I do it? And I mean, my path over to here was following my now wife, but at the same time, it was like there was a point where I just went, yeah, okay, and then we were doing it.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of like, once you get over that first little hurdle, and then the stuff piles up, and you've got to do this, and you've got to fill out forms, and you've got to go for visas and all that kind of stuff, but it's doable and people have done it. So I think, if you want to do it, it will feel hard at times, but at the same time, it is doable. And I think it's, like you said as well, if it's a life choice, like the experiences you get out of being somewhere different do definitely, no matter what, make you richer as a person, for sure.
I do think it gets a bit harder as you get older as well, potentially. It's harder, more roots down. Just if you can do it when you're younger and you've got the ability, I think it's good to do it when you can.
Yeah. And doesn't the visa run out when you're 32 anyway? So if you're Australian going to the UK, you've got that kind of window.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And the beauty is like, this industry is such a transferable industry, right? Like, that, it might be harder if you had a different job, but I do think this one is like, you can go somewhere else and you've got the skill set to be able to work wherever you want. So it is, if you've got that in your life, it's a nice kind of privilege to have, in a way, to be able to do it with this career.